problems. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. I'm expecting you to. You've probably done that for us. You haven't signed in, Dave. Oh, you did. Sorry, I must have missed it. Apologies. Okay. All right. So everybody here, do you think we're right to get going? Yep, we're right to make a start? Yep, everybody's okay with that? Okay. All right. So now I have to say good afternoon. I actually could say good morning at one point before we started. So I'd just like to welcome everybody to the information session for assessment templates. So my name is Jo Fuller, and my position is the Senior Manager, Product Development Support. Product Development Support is one of the arms of training operations within the Education and Training Group. We support the product development that is undertaken by Skills Points, and part of that process is for us to look at the consistency and quality assurance. So we do a range of functions around supporting the Skills Points and also the product development process. And this is one of the sessions that we're running that is particularly around assessment templates. I'd just like to acknowledge that this meeting is taking place I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which this meeting is taking place, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders both past and present and any First Nation people here today. That's great that that's on a recording, that I've messed that up, so fabulous. Okay, so what we'll do today is that we're going to run through a PowerPoint. I've got a couple of my team actually here. I've got 3 assessment designers. I've got Alison Warren, Dave Gilchrist and Lucia Rulo. They're assessment designers that support the Skills Points in designing assessments. And I've also got Tracy Collins, who is the manager of the Learning Bank, just to give you a bit of an introduction to the Learning Bank and where the actual assessment templates are actually located. So what we might do is just get started, and we will be stopping in different parts because we'll all be presenting different components of the presentation, and we'll give you an opportunity to actually ask questions at points during it. But please, if you have a question, please just let us know. So can I just check, is somebody going to do the first part of the presentation? I'm not sure how you managed that. Lucia previously, did Alison take on the first part or?
No, you did.
I know I did, but I missed the one yesterday, so do I need to?
Well, I was sort of doing it, but if you wanted to do the first...
okay, I'll do it. Yeah, if you're fine with that. So if I can just get the PowerPoint to come up, and we'll certainly send this PowerPoint on to you after the session.
Did you want me to present it?
The PowerPoint, if you can, please, if somebody can bring it up, please. Unfortunately, I don't get to go to all the sessions, but I have been able to manage today, which is great. So thanks, Lucia.
That's all right.
So what we want to do is just give you a bit of background as to how we've come to the current version 3 templates, and just talk about the deployment of those. So I suppose so we're going to talk about all of those points there. So we'll give a little bit about how we got to where we are. We'll talk about the timeline for implementation, just so that everybody's clear and understands what the process will be. Lucia will take us through what the differences are between version 2 and version 3 assessments templates, and when we say that, version 2 are the current assessment templates that are available on the Standards and Compliance site. And then we'll go into how do you find them, how do you actually complete them, and then what we're going to do is then talk about the file names, transition period, and then obviously what we're going to do for continuous improvement. So that just gives you a bit of a sense of what we're covering. But, you know, of course, if you want to add anything to that, please feel free to do that. Thanks, Lucia.
Thanks, Jo.
Is there another slide, or am I supposed to talk to that? I can't remember.
No, the background. Did you want to do that one?
Yes, if I could. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so when we stood up as product development support, we've been being stood up at the same time as you are, so it's the beginning of April, and very clearly what came to us, and this was based on a whole lot of feedback. It was based on feedback from teachers in the regions on the standards and compliance side. It was also identified through Skills Points, who actually did pilots before April or beginning of April, and what we saw was that that they were very cumbersome. We found that it was a bit atomistic, and we saw that there was a real opportunity for us to sort of re-look at what was the purpose of the templates and how they could be improved. So we looked at combining some of the assessments. We looked at, is there another way that we could actually do that? And what happened is that the assessment designers then worked on all of those templates, and then what we tried to do was gather the feedback, and then we put together proposed templates and then sent them out to gather feedback. We did that fairly extensively, so we had feedback obviously from the DIP teams. We had TAFE Digital, who was assisting us with the templates. We had the Skills Points. We had teachers that were interested in providing us feedback, and we also tried to sort of get a bit of a sense on what would actually work, because we're very much focused on the end user. So we're focused on the teachers actually using it, as well as the students. Does it actually make sense for the students to actually have these assessment templates? Have the assessments in a format that's actually useful for them. So that's how we've sort of been working, and what we tried to do was to look at sorry, is that gone? Thank you. We've been trying to look at how do we actually gather all of that feedback and then put that into the templates. And I think one of the things, was this a random selection of staff consultation? No, it wasn't. It was directed to the heads of delivery and implementation, and they actually nominated who the people would be in their teams. Obviously, we worked very closely with standards and compliance, and it was really all of the Skills Points, and it was the people responsible for the templates, but we certainly requested from the DIP teams to actually provide the feedback. So I suppose we had we had probably one point of contact for each of the regions, and then we were hoping that that would then be sent across the DIP teams. So if I can just sort of say it wasn't random, what we tried to do was identify who the key stakeholders were, and then try and work out how we could actually work with that feedback. Because we're on a really tight time frame, we couldn't incorporate all of the feedback, but we will certainly be using that feedback in future iterations that we go through, because really you're probably all aware of Project 83 and the development that's actually taking place for resources for those particular products. So what we're trying to do, we were trying to have those available as part of the consultation piece that Skills Points were doing with their communities of practice. So we had a very tight time frame, but we were fairly confident that we had received a multitude of feedback pieces. We did it on a systematic approach. Every week we would set out, 3 or 4 templates, get the feedback, and then update those templates. So it was pretty systematic the way that we sort of went across that. So that's where we sort of went. And as I said, we will have assessment templates being used for Project 83 products. And part of the communication engagement strategy is that we're doing information sessions. So we've done information sessions with the DIP teams. Thanks, Lucia. So they commence this week, because what we're sort of seeing is that the DIP teams are the people that are working directly with the skills teams, because I think one of the things that we need to be really mindful of is that although the completed assessments will be available for Project 83 courses, it's what are you going to do as far as working with your skills teams to actually use the new templates. So the version 3 assessment templates will be available from the 17th. Those of you that frequent the Standards and Compliance intranet site will also see that the version 2 assessment templates will be removed. So Standards and Compliance won't have responsibility for it. It will sit with training operations and sit with product development support. So if you've got any feedback or any you want to discuss any of the templates, please you can contact us. So what we're saying is that if people are actually developing any new assessments, we would be strongly suggesting that that the version 3 assessment templates be used, because we're actually saying that people want to get in, prepare and plan for semester 1 implementation, but that's if they're working with new ones. But we also want to be very clear that we're saying that it won't be implemented until semester 2. So we're saying that we're trying to get them out now so that if people want to update their assessments now, they're available for semester 1. But we're saying that semester 1 is a transitionary period so that version 3 assessment templates will be used for semester 2 next year. So that's how we're approaching it. And just to let you know that the completed Project 83 course assessments will start to be, I suppose, deployed from November. So going forward, the version 3 will be the assessment templates that we'll be using. But at the moment, there will be a bit of a crossover between version 2 and version 3, but we would be encouraging you to support your skills teams to start thinking about what will be the rollout of version 3, because it is expected that by semester 2 next year they will be used for all courses. So I might just leave it there at that point. Is there any questions about that? Oh, so silence. So I'll hand it over to Lucia.
Great. Thanks, Jo.
Sorry, Christine. Yes, we'll be sending this presentation out to you. What we were trying to do with the presentation was to try and get feedback through the information sessions. So that's why we're trying to do that. So that's how we're looking. Any more feedback? Do the teachers still validate the assessments? So, Lucia, I might let you talk about all of those details about pre and post validation, if that's okay.
Yes, that's fine. Thanks, Jo. All right, so good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to take you through the different types of the templates. So the version 2 that you may be familiar with, which are on the intranet under the compliance website, and they will be there till at least the 24th of September. The templates that were there, and on the right-hand side I've made a list of the templates that we've actually worked on that this presentation is about. So with the version 2 templates, there were previously 3 different student assessments. There was a knowledge, a project and a skills. There were individual student documents such as the student declaration form, the student unit result summary and the submission cover sheet. And there were the marking templates that were in this suite of products were used to grade student assessments and provide feedback to the student. So in the consultations we've had and changing them to the version 3, we've come up with these set of templates. So on the right, you'll see the different suite of assessment templates and we've also added a few additional. So now we have 4 student assessments. So we have the knowledge, the skills, the project like it was before, but we've also added in case study based assessment. Within each of the student assessments, we've added the student declaration form at the front, and we've incorporated the feedback sheet at the back of each of the assessments. So what used to be 3 templates have now been combined into 1. We've turned the marking guides into train and assessor marking guides. So there is now a clear distinction between what are student-facing documents and what are train and assessor-facing documents. And within those marking guides, there are instructions around, adding in sample, model, and relevant criteria to be used when marking students' assessments. We've also added for each of the assessments a student a support document, which is to be used to offer guidance. It has things like instructions on how to complete a student assessment. It has hints and tips and quite a bit of detailed information within that. So we recommend that you use that when developing your assessments. In each of the student assessments, we've also added in 2 or 3 assessment methods that can be used. So that we felt that, very much related to the particular types of assessments. So they're there to be used, or if you chose to use a different assessment methods depending on the unit of competency or course that you're developing, then that's fine. But at least there is a little bit more, there's more information and assistance in that development process. And we've also added further instructions in each template, as well as that support document that I mentioned earlier. There's additional instructions throughout, whether it be the student assessment or the marking guide, throughout all of the templates. So with the assessment templates of version 3, we actually released this on the 27th of August, and as Joe mentioned, we rolled these out to the school points first, and we've been developing information sessions along the way to inform everyone. So those 2 templates are available in Word in the Learning Bank, and they're also available in Datadocs in the Data website. So I think Dave normally does this session. Dave, did you want to jump in and...
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Lucia. Just before, did anybody have any questions? Or Lucia, did you want to respond to the... well, I can as well. Do the teachers need to validate assessments? Yes.
Yes.
The normal validation process, as is current practice, continues. These are I'll say just templates, but really how you fill out the template is will need to be contextualised to the specific scenario, for the development of the test. So it's business as usual in effect for the development, the pre-validation of the testments. Of course, the post-validation will need to occur after the templates have been used by the students. So that'll be sort of next year. We're imagining that the post-validation process will take place. So I hope that answers the question. If there was any more details you need, please just type it in or speak up. Thank you, Lucia. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to talk a bit further now about the difference between the 2 templates. That they are identical in the context of the Word document component, but they're different in the context of in the Learning Bank. They are Word documents that need to, as is probably current practice, they need to have the TGA data copied and pasted basically into the Word document. So the code, the unit name, performance criteria, all these elements within the individual units need to be copied and pasted into the Word document and filled out as you would a Word document. So that's the Word templates in the Learning Bank. The Data website does something different. It draws data out of the TGA website and puts that information into the Word document for you, basically. So if you download the Word documents from the Learning Bank, you'll copy and paste the TGA data. Whereas if you download the Datadocs from the Data Web Service, that TGA data will still be in there. And in both cases, you will need to then, of course, go in and actually fill in the actual assessment events and all the related information around that. I'm going to leave the Learning Bank to Tracy. It will talk about the Learning Bank in a moment. Thank you, Lucia. So I might just go directly into, and I'll share my screen for a moment there, Lucia, please. I'm just going to go into the Datadocs, as they're called, and just do a brief demonstration of what it looks like and how it works. So you should see my screen now. So the primary difference, that the way to easily identify is that the Data Web Service is green and the Learning Bank is blue. So there's a bit of a visual clue there. I'm just going to and as Joe had mentioned at the start too, this slide with all these links to all the information we're giving you will be available after this presentation. So you won't need to look around for these things. You'll be able to get the information to the different parts directly from the slides. How it works is you just need to type in. I'm going to type in a qual, and I'm going to type in some details, some details about units. And as I do this, you'll notice down the bottom of my screen, documents start appearing. I'll just explain. So it's quite a simple process. You put in the training package and the qualification, and as I as I mentioned, depending on what different, there's different things you can you've adjusted the way when you enter the data and select the appropriate information. The associated documents will then start to appear down below here. I'll just briefly describe what we're looking at. When you do this, the first link you'll see is always to the training.gov information. So I can click on that and go directly to training.gov related to this qualification. And then there's the assessment documents that will appear down below that. On the left-hand side are the Word documents. I'll open one in a moment to show you what they look like. So the left-hand side are all the Word documents that when I click and download them will extract the TGA data appropriate to that specific unit and put it within the Word document. So when it opens on my desktop, it'll have all the TGA data within the document. On the right-hand side are the PDF support documents that Lucia mentioned. So the correlation is that the right-hand PDF document is the support information of how I would fill this particular document out. The last thing I'll mention before I download a document is that you can either individually download any of these documents just by clicking on them, and they'll load on your computer. Or if you wanted to download the bundle, all these documents, you can download the whole suite here using this download as a zip file function. That will basically package up all those files that are on the screen there and put them into one zip file that you can download. I'm just going to open a document, so I've just clicked on the UAG, and it's just opening Word. And as I was mentioning, the TGA data related to this unit has been automatically put into the document for me. Whereas if I use the Learning Bank Word document, I'd have to copy and paste this information from the TGA website. But in this case, all this information comes directly from the TGA service. Depending on what type of a document it is, if it's, for example, a mapping document, it'll also bring across the performance criteria, essential elements, foundation skills, these types of data. I'll just, of course, at any time, if anybody has a question, please let me know. But I just want to move on for a moment to the last part of what I wanted to show today and talk about, and then hand over to Tracy. And that's something to be aware of, is that the data web service does extract data from the TGA website, and at times it's infrequently, but it does happen. There can at times be an issue with the TGA website. It's not a problem actually with the data web service, but sometimes, particularly in some of the older units, 4 or 5 year old units, there can be sometimes issues with the data that's being extracted from TGA. So we just ask that when you do download data docs using this technology, you also at the same time click on that training.gov link and just verify that the information that's been transferred from TGA is okay. We found again with these older units there can at times be particular issues in the foundation skills. So any of the mapping documents that or any other documents that might have foundation skills, just scroll down and just have a quick look to make sure that there was no issue with the transfer of the data. If you do in fact find any issue either with the data web service itself, so if there's some sort of a technical issue with the service at any time, or if you find some issues with the extraction of the TGA data into the Word documents, please log those types of issues with our Desk Now service. This link here takes it to you and sort of sets a ticket up for you. And just type in whatever the information is, whether it's through the technical or related to the TGA data transfer into the documents. And the ICT people will prioritise and work on those issues. I might stop speaking now and just ask, are there any questions about that before I hand over to Tracy then to give us a look at the Learning Bank? Okay, so if there are no questions, Tracy, I might hand over to you.
Sure. Okay, thanks, Dave. I'll just get my screen up.
Can I just, while Tracy's just doing that, hello, Julia. How are you? Lovely to see you.
Hello.
Hello. Can I just ask, we're going to send out the presentation, so that will have a link, to Data Docs, so you'll get the link as Dave showed on that PowerPoint slide, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I found it. I actually did find the link, and I was surfing it and checking it out while he was talking.
Okay.
So it's all good.
Great. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Joe. Nice to see so many familiar faces. Hi, everyone. So I'm just going to talk briefly today about accessing both the templates in the Learning Bank and then also where your teams, so the skills teams within the regions, will be accessing the completed assessments once the skills points have released them. So firstly, the templates. So I'm just logged into the Learning Bank. Hopefully you can all see that. And we've got down just below the first portlet, we have a search area. And so in the search box there, you can see that the third link is to search for TAFE New South Wales templates. So if you just click on that search button, it will take you to a search just for the templates. At the moment, we've just got assessment templates in this collection, but in the near future, there will also be teaching and learning templates coming. So once you go into this templates collection, you'll be able to scroll through all of the different templates that are available. Or if you know what you're looking for, you can also use the search box right at the top of the screen there. So once you actually go into one of the records, so say we go into the project assessment templates, you'll find eventually, it's actually running really slowly today. I'm not sure, I think there's network problems across the board, so just wait. But once it opens up, you'll actually be able to download either the full package of resources, templates, which is the top link. Click here to download the files, or you can download the individual files if you know exactly what you're looking for. If you click the top link there, that will download a zip file that will have all of the documents in it in one hit. So that's it really for finding the templates. Obviously, if something is already able to be populated from training.gov, then the Data Docs is probably the preferred option, but obviously not all courses will be able to do that, so this is why the templates are here available for you to access. So the other thing is to find the resources once the skills points have released them. So just quickly, I'll run through a couple of search options. So for you to be able to find the resources, we have three really key options for searching. So the first one is using this navigation on the front dashboard screen. So you can see that we've got one, icon and link for each of the skills points. Once you click on those links, it will take you through to a search just for that skills points resources. You'll notice that there aren't any at the moment. We still don't actually have any released resources from the skills points. But if we did, there would be a list there, and obviously over time that will be quite long. So you will be able to search in the search box at the top. Probably the best options for searching will be searching by unit code or course code. So once the skills points release resources, we will be storing them by unit predominantly, or by cluster of units if that's relevant. And we will also have course level documents in the Learning Bank, so things like your master TASs, course assessment guides and RPL kits. So sometimes you'll need to look just for the units, but then other times there will be a reason, I suppose, for searching by course. You can also search by keywords, so if you have a particular term that you wanted to have a look for, then you can also search for that in that search box. The second way to search is if I scroll back down to the search portlet that I showed you earlier for the templates, you'll also be able to search using this top link, so for Skills Point approved training products. So that search will actually allow you to search across all of the skills points. So obviously in some instances there will be units that are released that have been developed by one of the skills points but will be used in courses for the other skills points. So that one is probably the preferred search option, to be honest, because it'll search across all of the skills points for you. The other search option, just to point out, the middle one, will actually allow you to search for all of the existing RTO collections. So any resources that have been put into the older Quella will still be available by searching with that link in the middle of the search portlet. So we've had a few questions about people saying, what's happened to all of the old resources? At the moment, they're all still absolutely available, and that's the way you can access them. If you've already got resources linked to those old collections in Aquella from things like Moodle, none of those are broken. Everything is still functioning as it always has. Over time, we will archive and retire old resources, but at the moment, that's not happening. The final way to search is with the search option in the top left-hand navigation. So if I click on that search, what you'll be able to do is undertake what we call an advanced search. So if you click on the little drop-down arrow just below the magnifying glass, you'll see on the right-hand side there's some advanced searches. The one I'd like to show you is this search by any field for the Learning Bank. So when you click on that, what it does is it brings up all of the different fields that are available for searching within, I'll just clear that, within the Learning Bank collection. It's just waiting again. And so what that'll allow you to do, once it finally comes up, is search by any combination of search fields. So you can search by unit and course and cohort, and skills point, or any combination of those. Most people probably won't need to use that search. Sorry, it's not displaying, it's just being really painful. Most people won't need to go and use that search, but if you wanted to, I suppose, really filter the search results, then that would be the option that you'd want to take. Hopefully, if you click that at another time, that will actually display what I was trying to show you. The final thing that I just wanted to demonstrate really quickly is what the records will look like in the Learning Bank once they are released by the skills points, and in particular what the assessment records will look like. So you can see I've got two dummy records basically sitting here at the moment. Thanks, Linda, I'm glad it's working somewhere. So the first one is a teaching and learning record, and the second one is an assessment resource record. What you can see there is the naming convention that we'll be using. So we'll have the unit code at the beginning of the record title. We'll then indicate whether it's teaching, learning, assessment, or course level documentation within the record. And where the resources are specifically relevant for only one or a small number of courses, we'll also have the course code. If the resources are relevant for all delivery of that particular unit, you won't see a course code there. It will just be the unit code. Below the name, you'll also see any specific information about those resources, the units or units that are relevant, the collection, the skills point, delivery mode, and cohort. So hopefully just from the initial search, you'll be able to really identify which records you want to use and not have to, I suppose, click into everything to find what it is that you're looking for. Once you do click on a record, we have changed the layout of the record display quite considerably from the old Aquella. The first thing you should notice is that at the top of any skills point record, you'll see that green text that indicates that this record is one of the skills point records. If you don't see the green text, you will see purple text, and the purple text says that this is not a skills point approved resource, and you know that you're using one of the old RTO records. Once you open the record, you'll see the unit details for those resources, the qualification or qualifications. So as I mentioned before, obviously lots of units will be relevant across qualifications. And so the skills points will identify all of the courses or qualifications that that particular unit has been, I suppose, approved for delivery in the list here. So we've only put one, but there could be very many more than one. You'll also see the delivery mode and cohort details, so which cohorts and modes of delivery these resources are suitable for. And below that, you'll have the list of resources. So you'll have all of the student-facing assessment documentation at the top, and then you'll have the teacher-facing documentation below. So the teacher-facing would be your marking guide, mapping, teacher RPL kit, all those sorts of things. So we've kept them separate just so it's easier to navigate, hopefully. And the final thing there is that you'll have the skills point that's released these resources, and also the contact details of the product manager who's responsible for them, the date the resources are released, and also the next review date. So that's what the records will look like in the Learning Bank once we have some. Are there any questions about accessing either the templates or resources within the Learning Bank?
Tracy, it's Peter here. How are you?
Hi, Peter. Good. How are you?
Yeah, well, thank you. Look, just a quick question. Where it's clustered delivery, will the search pick up obviously both units?
Yes, it will. Yes, absolutely. So if you just typed in one unit, it would actually come up and you would see on that original search screen the units that are covered in that record. So see there where it's got the unit details?
Yep.
What they're most likely going to have is instead of a code, they'll have a name for the cluster, but the search will pick up the unit code.
Okay, that's great. And just a second question, just noticing when you were looking at that previous screen and it had the product contact details, is there any link or anything like that there to provide feedback for continuous improvement? So I'm just wondering how feedback will be given on assessments, and obviously a logical thing would be having a feedback link in the product details area there.
Yeah, Tracy, is it all right if I take that question? Yep. Hi, Peter. Joe
Hey,
Full.
Joe, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Well, thanks.
So what we're sort of planning on doing, I think it's one of those things, trying to work out the best location for a link. And I suppose what we're sort of thinking in the Learning Bank is that people will just be really about downloading and just sort of getting access to it. So what we're trying to put in place is there will be a feedback link, but we're just trying to work out the best place for it, because is it about assessments or is it about the whole resource? There might be a whole range of different feedbacks that we're going to capture. So we're thinking at the moment that we'll probably put that on the intranet site under training operations. And that way there's one place where people can provide feedback around a whole range of things.
That sounds great, Joe. Thank you.
Okay, we have got a couple of other questions. So the first one from Simone is, will there be different assessments for the same unit in different locations? Ideally, no. Although in the short term, there will be obviously assessments that the RTOs have previously put into Aquella. So they would come up if you're searching across all of the old collections. But as I showed earlier, if you're just searching in the Skills Point collection, so that top link, then you should just come up with the Skills Point approved assessments, and ideally there won't be multiples. Saying that though, if there are assessments designed for a specific course, then you will get multiple records showing up, and you will just need to identify the correct one for the correct course that you're delivering. And then that leads on to Karen's question about referring to templates as records, and I just used the word again. The templates themselves aren't called records, Karen, but I suppose when I talk about a record, this is a record. So it's the view of all of the information about the resources and the resources themselves. So as a whole, we refer to those things as a record. So when you do a search within the Learning Bank, each of these, I suppose, results that come up are a record or a bucket where the files actually sit. Hopefully that makes sense. It's really a little bit of jargon, I suppose. Julia, great question. Can you predict when this will be populated by the skills points ready for teachers to use? No, not really. I have received one submission, but we're still trying to finalise. There's maybe some questions about that particular submission. So we are expecting an avalanche of submissions over the next few months. I'm not sure if, Joe, you want to provide any clarity on that. But yeah, we don't have them yet, Jules. Joe?
Okay, so obviously at the moment the focus is Project 83 courses, which we're trying to lock down as best we can. The challenge around Project 83 courses is that it's a little bit of a transitionary sort of process that we've got at the moment. So originally the Project 83 courses were the top 83 enrolment courses, and that was the initial focus. But what's actually happened once we've actually gone through and reviewed all of those courses, some of those have actually changed. For example, if there's a training package update that's going to happen in the next 12 months, they have been put back to the next production cycle. We have, and I'm sure that coming from the DIP team, you'll know that some courses have been identified as high risk and need to take a priority over other courses. So what that means is that we have to sort of put those in and then take out another. And then I suppose another, change that we're sort of seeing is any business development opportunities. So at the moment, we're working hard to lock down just exactly what those courses are, lock down exactly what the resources will be that will come for the courses identified for Project 83. So the plan at the moment is the timeframe is the end of October, beginning of November, but we've had some budgetary constraints placed upon that, and it looks as though the product specialists won't be starting we're still trying to lock down the date when the product specialists. So we've got a lot of dependencies actually happening at the moment, but as Tracy's already alluded to, we're trying to get resources in there as soon as we can. And what we're also working on is a communication and engagement strategy so that you know what is coming and what you can expect, because I'm sure that the skills teams are feeling sort of, what do I do in preparation for semester one? So we're trying to lock all of those things down at the moment, but it's a bit of a moving transitional period that we're working on. And I think when we talk about Project 83, it's the first production cycle that we've actually really been working in and trying to get all of the quality assurance framework in place, all of these systems working. So it's a difficult one, but we are working to try and lock it down to give you a really good indication, and obviously trying to give the teachers as much time as possible to integrate what the resources are for semester one. So the time frame at the moment is October, November. That's where we're heading for.
Thanks, Jo. Couple of final things from me. Dave put a note in the chat area that Internet Explorer is terrible for the Learning Bank and also for data docs. What you might find if you are using Internet Explorer, or if people within the region are using Internet Explorer, is they will get a Java error in the Learning Bank if they're trying to download and open a Word document. So if you happen to get requests or I suppose questions from people within the region, if you could just check with them that they are actually using Chrome and not Internet Explorer as a first pass, that might actually solve their problem. The other thing is that Lucia is next going to speak about the training product naming conventions. And I just wanted to show you that there is a link to the document that Lucia will be showing you in the Learning Bank in the help portlet. So we have a number of quick reference guides sitting in there. And the second one down is the training product naming conventions. So thank you for your time. I suppose we're also hoping that people in your roles will be helping to support staff in the region to use the Learning Bank. So if there are people in your area that are interested in finding more about the Learning Bank, then please get in touch with me and we'll organise to run information sessions with those staff whenever you need. So thank you again, and I'll hand back to Lucia.
Thanks, Tracy. Okay. Okay, so the file name conventions and acronyms. During the updating of the templates, we noticed that required updating, so that we've now updated it to incorporate the full end-to-end process. So in the document, and I'll give you a bit of a look here, it provides guidelines as to saving, being aware of the characters. We've incorporated here the teaching resource and learning resources, so you'll find the name of the document, the abbreviation, and an example of how to file it and the file name to use. We've also added in here the assessment templates, and each of the version 3 assessment templates that you'll see, they're all listed below, and their relevant codes and their filing. We've also incorporated how to file a TAS and what that looks like, and the example below. Clustered resources in case anyone's working with clustered resources, version control, how to do that. For the assessments, that the version control sits on page 2 of the student assessments, but in different documents that might sit in other places. So I believe in the TAS that will sit in the footer, so there's examples on that. There's also information on the footers, resource ID, etc. So it's a it's a handy document to use when you're working on developing your assessments or resources or tasks, and to use that. And I suppose it would be great practice to use that across all your documents, so there is consistency throughout. Ensuring consistency will obviously ensure that there is a better search method involved, and we're able to find the documents quickly. And so the last slide from me and the presentation is about continuous improvement. So in developing the version 3 templates, we received quite a bit of feedback. We went through all the feedback that we received throughout the process, and what we did, we incorporated improvements to this version of the templates. So we looked at and changed the immediate wording to better address compliance requirements. We also added additional instructions for better usability for the trainer and assessor. We incorporated version control, document filing. We've standardized that through within the templates, and also through the use of the product naming document. There's also additional feedback that we felt that we wouldn't incorporate or couldn't incorporate for this round, and a lot of the things were nice to have. Could we do this? And we've definitely considered that to look at in the next round. So at the moment, the tools are available, and as they've been available since 27th of August, and they're ready to be used and tested. We will be looking at a review and monitor cycle over the 6 to 12 months after the tool has actually been tested. Below here there is an email, so whilst you're using it, or if there's any particular feedback, please feel free to send us that information, and we'll have a look at that in the next round. So thank you from me. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask.
I think there's a question
coming up slowly.
Oh, no, thanks. Okay. Very informative.
Right, thank you. Over to you, Jo.
Okay, look, I think one of the things that we've had from the other sessions is about the rollout to the skills teams, and I know some of the delivery and implementation and performance teams are looking at what that strategy will be. Maybe it's an opportunity for you to work together and work out what that would be. We're happy to assist about that, but it's just trying to get that information out to the wider group, and there will be some communications about using the templates, and I suppose the actual dates and the transition that we're sort of talking about for semester 1. That's what we're sort of doing. So we're very happy to work with you, and as I said at the beginning, we're doing all the information sessions for the DIP teams, but if you have any feedback, you can ask now, or you can actually just send it to us. So yeah, okay. It is a huge job, Peter. Thank you. Thanks for acknowledging that. It's been a huge one. What I might just do while I've got the opportunity, though, because I've got a captured audience just for a couple of minutes, is just to let you know that for the Project 83, the assessments is part of the minimum viable product. The next probably task that will be, the priority that we'll be looking at, and the tasks associated with that, is recognition of prior learning. So what I've got nominations from each of the DIP teams and also the Skills Points teams, and we're just looking at the templates for recognition of prior learning, which is around the student-facing documents as well as the assessor-facing documents. So we're just working on that. That will probably be the next piece that we'll be able to engage with you and seek input and feedback about as well. So, and I think, Kerry is your nominated person. So, and we've sent out the initial document. So if you've got any feedback, we'd like to hear from you. So, do we have possible date for rollout of RPL docs? I think what we're trying to do with the RPL docs is we're doing the student one this week, and we're doing the assessor one the following week. So we're probably trying to get them done by the end of September. That's probably a bit ambitious. My staff are probably rolling their eyes, but I think, we're trying to sort of leverage off that, because we're getting an awful lot of inquiries about RPL. And I suppose the only other thing that you might be interested in is that we're also looking at a Moodle template that's a TAFE New South Wales wide one. So we're also working on that at the moment, which is Linda is actually a representative on that team. So we are looking for your engagement and, you know, your input. So I'd just like to thank, sorry, is there a question? Sorry.
I'll just note, it's just that, so it just happens that I'm running a Learning Express session next Thursday. So it's just good to know if anybody says, I could just say, a little bit of information, you know, there are going to be new RPL. It's just very timely. I know I can't do anything official, but it's good, like the RPL Learning Express, which is a little PD. It'll be more about, you know, what is appropriate RPL evidence, but it's probably good just to have a little bit of, and in the new One TAFE model, we've got some new documents coming to help with RPL. That's about as far as I would inform, but good to know that it's coming.
I think the other thing, Kerry, for your information is within the Moodle template that we're developing, recognition will be there as well. So anybody that's using the template, the documents will be linked into the Moodle as well. So we're trying to make sure that everybody that's you know, enrolled in that course and is using Moodle has direct access and know you know, all the details about RPL and also evidence that they can gather. So I suppose that's probably the other one. So yeah, that's good. Okay, well, I might